Hello, everybody. We got Double D's back again. I'm Daryl.
And I'm Dave.
And we're live from Dave's house.
What?
We're going to grab it by the pigskin here.
I will trump you one and grab it with you.
I love it. All right, we got not too many injuries this week. I mean, there's a couple key ones. You got Gronk. You hear rumors of punctured
Gronk's
lung.
out.
He's out. I mean, they're up so much. They're playing San Francisco. Are they really going to risk him? Chris Hogan's out, too.
Not to cut you off, how do you feel about Martellus Bennett this week with Gronk out?
I love him. I know he's listed as questionable, but I mean, come on, they don't have anybody else at tight end. I think you're going to see a lot of LeGarrette Blount in that game, honestly. But without Gronk, Martellus is a great start.
Yeah, they're going to look to control the clock there. I think Julian Edelman, Hogan, they both gain a lot of status in this game.
Hogan's out.
Hogan's out, huh?
Hogan's out as well.
Wow, that is news to me. Thanks for informing me there, Darryl.
Jeremy Maclin's out as well.
How do you feel about Dion Lewis's knee? Do you think they're going to work him in a little bit more? I do agree that Blunt will be a force again this week.
I think Dion Lewis is... They're going to ease him back. I don't see him playing him too much because this is a game they should easily be able to control.
I'm worried with Hogan out. He's been a big factor for them in this game.
He has.
Amendola gained from there or what?
Can you trust Amendola? He constantly gets hurt. We got Rawls coming back, the big Christine Michael cut. You know, some people you might look at adding this week. You know, I know the Packers did just sign Christine Michael, but James Starks is going to have a little bit of value there for a week or two until Michael learns the offense.
Super huge value. I added him 2 weeks ago when Ty Montgomery was still an owner of him, and I wanted to handcuff him there.
Yep, just in case, because you don't know where they're going. I don't think the Packers know where they're going at this point, but you know, you're looking at free agent ads. You know, Rawls if he's sitting there. Eli Rogers is a great pickup. He's emerging in that Steelers offense. Zach Miller, with Alshon being suspended, I think he's going to get huge targets. Ladarius Green, another tight end, he's coming back. Rashard Matthews.
I've been talking to Rashard Matthews up for a couple weeks. 2 weeks ago on our page, I had him ranked in our top 30. Kayla, one of our listeners, added him but did not start him. Said that she would do it the next week. I hope that she did because I do see him continuing to do this all season.
Okay, and you know, if you're trying to stream a defense, lots of people do this. You know, the Dolphins D this week. The Dolphins have been looking really good on defense lately. They're getting a pass rush. Even the Lions D this week, they're getting DeAndre Levy, Ansah is supposed to be back. They're playing Blake Bortles, the turnover machine.
Yeah, I have Detroit in my top 10 this week, and I added Miami.
They just cracked mine. Yep, Miami's a great pickup, at least for this week. I mean, they stayed out in California. Why? You know, they just stayed there. Why fly back? All right, we got Buffalo.
One more. Jeremy Maclin is out.
Yep. Jeremy Maclin's out. You know, Tyreek Hill, I guess, if you're looking for a wide receiver there, but I don't trust their passing the game. I think so, too. I'm with
you there, sir.
Buffalo, Cincinnati. Okay, Buffalo. They're looking at their first 3-game losing streak since 2013. I know they've been kind of one of those shitty teams, but somehow this is their first 3-game losing streak. They're giving up 33.5 points a game in their last 3. AJ Green now on the other end, Cincinnati. They're struggling right now. They're looking at missing the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. AJ Green, there's dysfunction in the locker room. I mean, AJ Green called out their offensive line. You know, that's not all on the offensive line. That's on Andy Dalton. That's on, you know, the play calling. They're calling lots of deep passes, and you need time for that to develop. If your line's struggling, your quarterback's struggling, you can't be trying to chuck it downfield all the time. I'm not picking against Rex here. I think Cincinnati continues to struggle. It's going to be a higher scoring game than people think. I'm looking at 34-30 Buffalo. Rex takes it, stops the losing streak.
I don't like to play my running backs against either of these two defenses, actually. But when you have LaShawn McCoy, you know he's a guaranteed start. I see him having a decent-sized workload this week. I think what's really going to help Buffalo is Week 12. Sammy Watkins is looking to be back. That's not guaranteed that he's going to play right away Week 12. We got to see him practice still. He's a great stash play. Jeremy Hill is going to have a tough time this week.
Yep.
Still have them ranked up pretty high, but don't be surprised if Giovanni Bernard is the man this week for Cincinnati. It's going to be a very tough, hard-fought game in Cincinnati, but I do have Buffalo 24, Cincinnati 20.
I agree with you. You know, Shady's carrying this offense right now. They're really struggling. I know they have a receiver here and there. You know, Woods will get his. Tyrod's, he's decent. He's decent, and he's improving. But they don't have that legit wide receiving threat.
I couldn't have said it any better myself.
That's really what it is. They do have some speed, but do they really have any talent there? Not really.
Not healthy.
Right. And AJ, he's going to go off in this game. I mean, Buffalo can't stop anybody right now. Eiffert's going to have a big game. Him coming back healthy, one of the trades I regretted, that was preseason start. He was still injured.
Who did you trade him to?
You, sir. Horrible trade. I don't trade with Dave, and these are the reasons.
Hey, did we make a trade this week?
Yeah. I told you one day I'm not getting rid of DeMarco or James Harden. The very next day, I traded DeMarco. But keeper league or not, I still did pull back Shady. I pulled back Ty, and I pulled back Delaney. I had to throw in Julio, but Julio and DeMarco. Julio's on bye. DeMarco's got one coming up. Now, we're getting to Dave's part here. We got Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Burger's 19-2 against Cleveland. I know they're on the road. I know he struggles on the road. Burger's got 9 wins in Cleveland in his career, which is 9 more than any Browns quarterback not named Derek Anderson since 1999. Think about this. Cleveland's a dumpster fire right now. You know, they made that big trade with the Eagles. Maybe they shouldn't have made the trade. Maybe they should have just taken Carson Wentz themselves. I mean, their third-round pick, Kessler, he got benched last week for Josh McCown. I know McCown has flashes here and there, but he's not the answer. You'd think when you're 0-9, which they were last week, that you'd try and give your rookie time and just let him learn by fire. I mean, that's the only option you have left. I know Burger struggles on the road, Pittsburgh struggles on the road, but Cleveland doesn't have enough to win this game. I got Pittsburgh 24, Cleveland 17.
Yeah, last week we seen the resurrection, to say, from Ben Roethlisberger from his knee scoping to know that he's healthy. 37 completions on 46 attempts. I had 408 yards with 3 touchdowns. The key stat here that I like to see, though, Daryl, he was only sacked 1 time. That means the protection was there, and they gave him the time that he needed. What happens when you do that? 14 receptions for Antonio Brown for 154 yards and a touchdown. I mean, when you give Ben Roethlisberger the time that an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady gets, you're going to see terrific results. One thing that I was super excited to see last week, Le'Veon Bell rushed the ball 17 times for 57 yards and a touchdown. I'd still like to see that number increase by at least 3 carries. He also had 9 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. I mean, we're looking at 26 total touches. We said a minimum that we wanted to see was 30. We're only 4 away from that number. I think 4 more touches. Do we possibly have a W? Can't quite tell you there. This week, Pittsburgh steamrolls over the Cleveland Browns, but the Cleveland Browns put up some points. I have Pittsburgh 35, Browns 28.
You know, I agree. They're finally giving Burger time. It's something they've struggled with, and their offensive line struggles. It carries over their run game, too. I mean, they're 21st in rushing yards per attempt. You have Le'Veon Bell, and even when he wasn't there, you have D'Angelo. How are you not able to run the ball a little better than that?
Well, you touched on Eli Rogers earlier. 4 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. This guy, I added him in my standard league as well as bench play. If I'm ever in a pinch for a wide receiver in a standard, I wouldn't be ashamed to play him. Nope. He really has the speed to beat defenders.
No, I really like Eli Rogers there. I mean, and you're going to start Antonio Brown. You're starting Le'Veon. You know, even if you own Terrell Pryor, do you really want to start him in Cleveland? I don't know. I don't want to start anybody in Cleveland on that offense, and, you know, they're like the Rams. How do you start anyone there? I guess if you're stuck with Gurley, you have to. All right, we got Baltimore and Dallas. Baltimore's got the league's best run D. Their defensive line averages like 312 pounds per person, but Dallas, they don't care who has the best run D. They go in, and they just do their thing. I mean, They're averaging 161 rushing yards per game. Dak, I mean, they're not just running the ball. He's got multiple touchdowns in 4 straight games as a rookie. Only Marino and Russell Wilson have made 5 games doing that as a rookie. So he's up there with some decent Hall of Fame level quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, but the offensive line you got there, you have a very, very good offense. You can ride Zeke with it. Flacco, he got called out by Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis, he's got a point. Flacco plays emotionless. Not the greatest thing you want from your quarterback, but when it comes down to it, Justin Tucker's the MVP of this team. You're starting Zeke. He's getting his. I think Dez is going to have a decent day. Steve Smith, he's looking to probably be the only one you really want to start out of Baltimore. Terrence West gets his carries, but they're getting inconsistent at times with him. I have Dallas 30, Baltimore 18. They continue their run. Dak continues to emerge as, I don't know, the best rookie quarterback out of this last draft.
Well, I think they have the best rookie duo, and dare I say this, early in history.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers that they're putting up's insane. Dak Prescott last week, 22 for 32. Here's some numbers I can compare him to, but on the ladder, I'm taking Dak Prescott. Who did I say last week that I don't hate? Sam Bradford. These guys don't throw the ball a whole lot. Now, by a whole lot, we're looking at players like Big Ben, Drew Brees, A-Rod, Brady. They're throwing the ball anywhere from 40
times games minimum. Yep.
I mean, those are huge numbers. And for this guy to get his 2 touchdowns, not say, hey, put the game in my hands, he makes the right reads. He throws to Jason Witten on 3rd down almost every time. One of the biggest targets that runs, one of the best routes in the game. He'll go down as one of the best tight ends in history, Jason Witten.
I agree.
6 receptions, 59 yards last week just for him. I mean, we were talking about Baltimore. You said that you really like Steve Smith Sr. this week. I do too. I have him at 15, I believe, maybe even ranked a little better. I do have Mike Wallace in my top 30 as well.
Yep.
I mean, I'm looking at last week in Joe Flacco, 30 for 41, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, but what hurt was the 2 picks. I mean, does it hurt a lot? No. But, again, I want a QB that can protect the ball. Terrence West, 21 rushing attempts, which, if I remember correctly, Le'Veon only had himself 17. 65 yards, no touchdowns. I get that. I understand it. But he gets the amount of attempts that I like as an RB1, guaranteed RB2. I think he has a semi-decent week this week. I like Mike Wallace as my standard play. You know that I talk about him all the time. 4 receptions and a touchdown. What did he get last week? 4 receptions, 59 yards, no touchdown. He's a good standard player. You don't mind having him. I have Dallas here though, 28, Baltimore 17.
Yeah, I don't see Baltimore doing it here. Did you see Romo's speech that he gave?
I did. How sincere do you feel that speech was?
I think he gets it. I think he's pissed because he knows he's good enough. I personally still feel that Romo is a better passer yet than Dak. I know Dak's playing well, but Romo, when he's had a team around him, let's face it, he was a Dez catch away from playing the NFC Championship game.
I mean, Romo realistically is a Larry Bird move away from just career-ending, deal with...
He is. His body's failed him. He had no protection early in his career. Like I said, I think he gets it, and I felt for him. You could tell that it hurt him to come out and pass the torch, so to speak, to Dez, because he knows it's not his team anymore and probably never will be again. And there were times in his speech where I really wondered if his head was even right, because he sounded depressed.
Well, Tony Romo, I tell you what, there's always a job waiting for you in Chicago.
Well, speaking of jobs for Tony Romo, we got Jacksonville and Detroit here. All right. I think Gus Bradley's gone. Bortles is going to continue his struggles. You see Detroit, they got Levy, Ansah, and Darius Slay. They should all be suiting up together for the first time since this September, and I'm not picking against Stafford at home. Now, it's Gus Bradley. I give him credit. Everybody thought Bortles was the answer at quarterback. And their defense hasn't been the problem there. AR-15, he gets cases of the drops. But Bortles, your team's going to go as far as your quarterback's going to carry you unless you have a Zeke in an offensive line like that. Romo might end up in Jacksonville. I wouldn't surprise me. I don't see. Then again, Jerry Jones might not get rid of him. I got Detroit 27, Jacksonville 17. Detroit's at home. how do you not take Detroit here? Stafford, if you got him, you're starting him. Theo Riddick, I think he's going to have a pretty good week because, Jacksonville's defense, they can shut down the pass a little bit. I think Theo gets his. I think AR-15 gets his. Other than those, I'd almost stay away from anybody else involved in that game.
Yeah, I actually, Golden Tate, I have him ranked 20 overall. I have Theo Riddick 7 overall. Off the top of my head, I can look for AR-15 here. I've got him 15. I mean, I'm looking at this. For PPR, that is. He had his best game of the year last week, Allen Robinson, that is.
Yep.
9 receptions, 107 yards, and a touchdown. I'm super pumped to see that. He's an elite wide receiver that has quarterback woes. I mean, for those of you that watched the game last week or have seen highlights, Blake Bortles went to throw the ball down and away and darted it off TJ Yeldon's foot, and it was intercepted by the Houston Texans. I mean, it was such a Jacksonville thing to do. I mean,
it's a thing to do.
I'm pretty excited to see what Detroit can do because of the division that they're in. The Packers have woes. The Bears have woes.
Vikings are falling apart.
Could start to win. The Packers legitly aren't looking at a playoff seed. With that being said, I have this game, Detroit 24, Jacksonville 16.
Golden Tate. I do like Golden Tate. I do own him in a league. I think Jalen Ramsey's going to make him his bitch. He's turned into a top 3 cover corner in the league. You hear about Patrick Peterson, you hear about Richard Sherman. Jalen Ramsey's a stud. He can take out Golden Tate. That's the only reason. If you have Tate, you're probably starting him or flexing him somewhere as your wide receiver 2, or you're flexing him.
Yeah, I have no problem with Tate. He's a low-end wide receiver 2, guaranteed flex play for me. He's proven himself over the last couple weeks, and I like the matchup against Jacksonville considering Marvin Jones Jr. or Senior.
Yeah, I think it is. It's Junior.
Yeah, he's played like a junior as of late, but I really like the number 2. 9 times out of 10, I'll give me the number 2 wide receiver.
I agree with you there on that one. All right, we got Tennessee and Indianapolis. The Colts. Luck, he's been sacked 8 times in the last 2 games, but they've won 10 straight against the Titans.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here, Daryl, but you know what? The only 10 I see here is when I look in the mirror. All right, continue.
That's what I'm getting at, because this is the flip side of it. Indianapolis has won 10 straight against Titans, but this Titans team isn't the same team anymore. They're averaging 33.7 points per game over their last 6 games. I mean, they blew up the Packers last week. Mariota's playing like he's on fire. You got DeMarco. He's doing his thing. Delaney, he's emerging as a top 3 to 4 tight end week in and week out. Luck's going to get his. He's going to be throwing the heck out of the ball like they always do. Frank Gore, I love Frank Gore. We talk about him almost every week the past couple weeks. But as good as their offense is, it's not going to be quite good enough. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Indianapolis can't stop Tennessee. I mean, you want to start Luck, but Luck's one of those QBs that's kind of prone to turnovers. I think he's going to throw a pick or 2 here. Mariota, what can I say about him? He's been a top QB in the league, and, well, you can't pick against him here. I got Tennessee 38, Indianapolis 30.
The pounding they put on Green Bay, 47-25. I mean, I understand that Green Bay has defensive woes right now, but man, did they have a scoring outburst. I mean, we seen DeMarco Murray throw that touchdown to Delaney Walker.
I know. It's like
I was in jubilee.
They're doing what they want on offense. They just make teams their bitches. They're like, this is what we do. We're going to do it, and you're not going to stop
it. It is very rare that I am going to pick against Andrew Luck at home, questionable with an injury or not, but this week I am. You can put it in the books. I have Tennessee winning this game, 28-27. I like their wide receiving core with Rashard Matthews.
Yep, he's emerging.
Kendall Wright, Tajay Sharp, the rookie. Obviously, all these guys aren't going to go out there and just score touchdowns because my score would be way too low. Delaney Walker emerging as a guaranteed top 5 tight end every week. I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch because coming into this season, I don't think any of us thought Tennessee would be as explosive on offense as they are.
No, they like I said, Indy's won 10 straight against them, but this is not the same team anymore. They've changed their whole identity. They've got a top offensive line. They're turning into a power running team, and they just smash mouth you and put it down your throat. And Mariota, he keeps doing it. I wasn't high on him earlier, but I mean, the guy, he's been too consistent. I can't pick against Tennessee, even on the road.
I mean, when you got DeMarco Murray having 123 yards rushing, and then he goes out there and he gets 33 yards receiving, and then your tight end says, hey, I'm going to get 9 catches for 124 yards.
Well, just that. DeMarco threw a touchdown, too.
I mean, it was quite a showing. I'm excited. Again, I have Tennessee 28, Colts 27.
All right, another team that's hot. Tampa Bay versus Kansas City. Now, obviously, we're not talking about Tampa Bay here. Kansas City's won 10 straight at home. 17 of their last 19 regular season games. I see lots of Spencer Ware here with Macklin out. Alex Smith, come on, you're not starting him. Maybe in a 2 QB league if you're desperate. That's about the only place you are. Jameis, he's going to struggle in Arrowhead. Mike Evans, great wide receiver. Doug Martin, he's back. It's not going to be enough. I mean, you're going to start those people. Cameron Brate, there's another guy that, if you're looking to stream a tight end, fill a flex spot, might not be a bad idea. Kelsey, I think he's going to get his with Macklin out. They have nobody else to throw to. That being said, Tampa Bay, like I said, they don't have enough. Kansas City 27, Tampa Bay 10. Kansas City extends their streak to 18 of their last 20. They own it in Arrowhead. It's one of the toughest places to play in the league.
Yeah, I agree. I am on the same ship with you. The one thing I think Tampa has going for them is Doug Martin coming back. He scored a touchdown last week.
Yep.
That was huge for them. I have a gentleman in my league that I am actually good friends with and I went to elementary school with. And I gave him the advice last week to put Doug Martin in and not to be worried, because if they had any trouble running the ball, or if they got anywhere near the goal line, that they would be feeding him the ball. He ended up going and getting his touchdown. He had 16 rushing attempts, which I had him at 12 max when I'm talking to Henry about this. I think Doug Martin is going to become the workhorse for them again. He showed that he's healthy. He showed that he's ready to go. With the deadly combination of Mike Evans, who had 4 receptions and 66 yards, against a very tough defense last week. Understand that Mike Evans is one of my favorite receivers. Look for this guy to go get his touchdown. I don't want to talk up Tampa Bay too much because, again, it's in Arrowhead. And I do, in fact, have this score: Kansas City 27, Tampa Bay 21. You touched on Cameron Brate. Probably the best ad that you can go out there and find at tight end. I mean, I know you can go get Zach Miller, but Cameron Brate is a huge target. Jameis Winston has shown us that he can throw the ball from the pocket. One thing I want to see Tampa Bay's offensive line do is not allow Jameis to get sacked as much. He's taken some pretty big hits. He took 4 sacks last week.
But he was going against, the Bears' defense. They're underrated. We'll get into that Bears game later. There's a couple. They're getting a pass rush. They are. But you're right. They need to protect him. Kansas City's getting Justin Houston back this week. He should be. That's going to be huge to their defense. He's an elite pass rusher, and they struggled last week.
That is astronomical. Who is that? Is that Aldon Smith for the Oakland Raiders?
Ex-Niner. Yep.
Yeah, he could be coming back, and it's up to Roger Goodell there, huh?
I'm sure, but Roger does what Roger does.
You don't Mr. Rogers'
that.
Neighborhood.
You know that. He's grabbing it by the pigskin, Dave. All right. We got Arizona. And we got the Vikings. We got, Larry Fitzgerald. He's going back home right now. He was a ball boy for the Vikings. He really was back in the day. The Cardinals haven't won in Minnesota since 1977. But these two teams, they've got quite a bit in common, actually. They're both they're top 3 defenses, second and third. But guess what? Both their offenses are struggling. I know the Cardinals have David Johnson, and yes, David Johnson, you're starting him. It doesn't matter. He could be playing the all NFL defensive team of the past 100 years. You're still going to start David Johnson. The guy he gets his, especially in PPR. But both their offenses are struggling. Carson Palmer got old. Minnesota can't run the ball. They can't protect Sam Bradford all of a sudden. Diggs, he's been getting his. Patrick Peterson exists. They're talking he's going to shadow him. Peterson exists in the slot. Diggs thrives in the slot. So I don't think it's going to be as huge of a factor as people think. It's the name factor. We're talking Jalen Ramsey. Guess what? I think he's better than Patrick Peterson as a cover corner. Kyle Rudolph. Bradford loves him. He loves the short slants and the checkdowns. Kyle Rudolph's going to get his. You stay away from the Vikings running backs. They can't run the ball. You stay away from Carson Palmer. You got to start David Johnson. You're starting Larry Fitz. The rest of the receivers, Floyd, Brown, J.J. Nelson, they're all kind of toss-ups there. You don't know which one's going to get it. At least the Packers, at least 3 of the 4 are going to get it. There you're getting Fitz, and then whoever else is getting his scraps. Arizona 17, Minnesota 14. I hate picking against the Vikings. I think they continue to slide, but somehow, some way, they're still going to be above the Packers in the division by the end of the week.
Are you ready to look at this from the other side of the fence?
Oh, no.
I think David Johnson is going to have at least 150 all-purpose yards. Now, will they amount to even a single touchdown? I could not tell you that. But last week, Rob Kelly on 22 rush attempts had 97 yards. He also hauled in 1 catch for -2 yards, which is quite complimenting to his stat line. Yes, absolutely. I am talking about Rob Kelly. The significance to this here is that Minnesota's defense has looked weak over the last couple weeks. No pun there. And I think David Johnson can shred them apart simply because he can run the ball between the numbers, catch the ball out of the backfield. Larry Fitzgerald being questionable scares me. I do believe that he's going to play. My favorite receiver for the Vikings here is Stefon Diggs. He's really gaining chemistry and traction with Sam Bradford. I did say it before. I don't hate Sam Bradford. I think he has a decent game here. Nothing amazing, nothing top charting. He might not even throw for 200 yards. But why I like him is because he's safe. You're playing against Patrick Patterson.
I agree.
You're playing against very good defenders and a very good defense when they play together. I have this a semi-low scoring game, I guess you could say.
Right.
I do have Arizona coming out on top, 20-19. I see it a little differently there. I like Matt Asiata in this game more than anyone else for the Vikings.
He's going to get goal line work.
Right, because I can see them being able to move the ball down the field with Stefon Diggs a little bit, Kyle Rudolph, and when you get there, they can run it 3 straight times and let this guy pound it. Taking nothing away from Arizona's goal line defense, they are very good.
Hey, we were close again. I had Arizona by 3. You had them by 1.
We've been pretty spot on this week.
Gosh, another unsung corner. You have Xavier Rhodes there. Is he Jalen Ramsey? No, but he's like Jalen Ramsey, like 0.95% of him. He's very, very good, especially with Fitz being questionable. I think he kind of shuts him down. Carson Palmer's old. Here's another team that maybe Romo could go to. You know what I mean? If he's looking to get out and compete, the Cardinals, the Broncos.
Talking about being old, how old do you gotta be as at least a top 15 receiver and take PEDs? Talking about Alshon Jeffrey here. Moving in.
Alshon Jeffrey, yeah. Speaking of old, though, I thought you were going after Larry Fitzgerald at first because he had that big resurgence.
No, I like Larry.
I like Larry, too. I
like Alshon.
I don't either. Alshon's a guy, I did draft him the other year, but that was because I got him in like the 4th round in a draft. But that's why we're getting into it. It's Bears, Giants, Alshon. He's a guy, he's always getting these little weirdy hamstring issues, all this. He's always hurting. But guess what? He hasn't had that so much this year. Oh, now we find out why. The PEDs, gone for 4 games. But the Bears, I know last week's dumpster fire of a game in Tampa didn't really show it, but their D's getting pressure. Their first-round pick, Leonard Floyd, he's got 4.5 sacks, 6 hits in the last 3 weeks. They pressured Tampa Bay all the hell and back last week. I think they're going to get at Eli. But Eli kind of thrives under pressure. Now, this Giants team, they're 6-3. We were talking about a couple weeks ago, the NFC East being a very, very tough division. I didn't even realize that the Giants' record was that. Why? They've given up more points than they've scored, and they're sitting at 6-3. There's another team like that. We'll get into them later. But the Giants have won 4 straight. ODB, fastest receiver to 3,500 yards in history, 6 touchdowns in 5 games. the Bears, even with them getting pressure on Eli, it's not going to be enough. Cutler's lost the locker room. I know he's denied it, but he has. He's lost that whole team. Alshon's out. Is it going to be Meredith? Is it going to be Royal? I don't want either of them. If I'm taking anybody, I'm taking Zach Miller.
I think that they can make Cameron Meredith into the best tight end.
I think Cameron Meredith could be a very good threat if they use him properly. He doesn't even have to be listed as a tight end like Jimmy Graham, somebody like that.
Jimmy Graham can't block either, which is why I really compare him to him. I mean, you teach the guy how to block.
It don't matter. You got Jay Cutler. Jay don't care. The team don't care about Jay. It's 31 Giants, Chicago 17, just because I think Chicago gets a couple points in garbage time.
I like Jordan Howard still. 15 rushes for 100 yards last week. They're showing that they still want to utilize him as the number one. Jeremy Langford, though, did have 2 rushing attempts for 16 yards and also corralled the ball for 4 receptions on 10 yards. I'm very scarce of the Bears this week. I think if they score a touchdown, it's going to come from the legs of Jordan Howard or off a bad pass and the defense returns it, something of the sort.
Yeah, Eli's prone to games like that.
I'm very worried about the Bears this week, and for the rest of the season, quite frankly. I don't know what they're going to do with this Alshon Jeffrey injury, lack thereof injury, taking PEDs to avoid the injury. One thing that I do like here, we haven't mentioned, Sterling Shepard finds the end zone again last week. 5 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Rashard Jennings did maintain the starting running back role. Keep an eye on Paul Perkins, a great stash play in both standard and PPR. He had 9 rushes for 31 yards. You cannot hate on that. We'd like to see him do a little more out of the passing game, but that went to Rashard Jennings with 3 receptions for 22 yards. Yeah, I mean, Robbie Gould, 3 extra points. When's the last time
Robbie Gould against his old team? I'm still calling Chicago's kicker Ghost Kicker, so guess what? Robbie Gould's kicking for both of them.
I have this Giants 28, Bears 10.
Love it, man. Love it. I had to give him a little credit, otherwise I'd never hear the end of it from Kane. I had to give him 17. All right, we got Dolphins-Rams. Miami stayed out on the West Coast last week. After the week prior, instead of flying back to Miami all the way across country, makes sense. They've won 4 in a row. At least they got a coach that's finally smart enough to stick with what works. Mike McCarthy, pay attention to that. We'll get to you later. They won 4 in a row. The Rams, Case Keenum came out and said he was surprised that they went to Goff. How the hell is he surprised? They took Goff number 1 overall. Eventually, this was going to happen. Case Keenum, I know he was throwing the ball 40 times a game recently. It's Case Keenum, guys. You have to give your rookie a chance. Rams are 4-5. They're pretty much out of the playoffs at this point. Miami, they're sitting at 5-4. They have an outside shot, but the AFC West is probably going to block them on it. I think Suh and Wake are going to feast on Goff, and they're going to engage in that weekly tradition that's been going on with the Rams. And that's shutting down Todd Gurley. I mean, the guy he's only averaging 3.1 per carry. He hasn't broken anything longer than 18 yards. Miami's D is going to they're going to own the Rams. I know the Rams' D is solid. Miami's still going to ride a Jai. Miami 24, Rams 14. Miami wins their 5th in a row.
Yeah, the only thing I got to say on the Jared Goff case is I think it's more of a PR move. I think the right thing to do would have been to stick out with Case Keenum. You said it yourself. Todd Gurley's having a hard time finding any traction on the ground. But what is that problem? It's the problem of the offensive line. And with that being said, you cannot evolve your offensive game without an offensive line. I mean, are we going to put it on Case Keenum that he's not finding these receivers? Is it not that he didn't have the time? Or is it because Todd Gurley can't give him the respect for a defensive play call for them not to be like, hey, we're going to stack the box, so whether you run or not, you're pretty much in trouble. Because, again, they're another team that doesn't have a true number 1.
No. Adrian Peterson did it in Minnesota years ago. I mean, he took Christian Ponder to the playoffs.
We're not comparing
but right. I know. I'm saying it can be done, but Todd Gurley can't do it. He can't. I think they're just going to Goff because they're at the point where, let's see what we got. We're this far into the year. He should know the playbook by now.
The one thing I am going to respect here, though, is the Miami defense this week. No disrespect to Los Angeles. I just feel the Miami defense will score this week. I have this game Miami 17, Los Angeles Rams 6.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me too much. I can see Goff coming out and throwing
the Rams
multiple
don't
turnovers.
have a bad defense. It's not that. Look at Tannehill on his good week. 17 completions on 24 attempts, 240 yards, and 2 TDs. The guy on his greatest week the whole season, and that's just speculation. That's not fact. Look it up. Tell me on the fantasy page if you'd like. But I'm not sold on the Dolphins completely yet. You are selling me on J.I., but I don't think they're contenders until they can evolve themselves into a running and passing team.
I agree with you, and I'm not a Dolphins homer. I try and be realistic about my football, even though they are my favorite team, have been since I was a child. They're not balanced enough to do it. Like I said, they're at 5-4. They're at the outside looking in. If the league was shaped differently, maybe because they're hot. But let's look at the AFC West. You got 3 teams with 3 losses or less. They're not getting in. They're not going to overtake the division. Tannehill, we still don't know if he's the answer there. He has flashes, but nothing great, nothing more than a game manager. If you can ride in a Jai, I'm probably going to end up keeping the man.
I would have to say that I'm not giving up on the Steelers yet, and they're on quite a slide themselves.
But they can win their division yet.
Yeah, within reason they can, but I would take the Dolphins right now in the position that they're in. They're at least winning.
They're
right
hot
now.
They're hot right now. How long is that going to last? Remains to be seen. Speaking of hot,
I think we'd both feel better if we had the hooded one as our coach.
Exactly. Speaking of hot, you got New England. Oh, no, Tom Brady? It don't matter. We got Jimmy G. Guess what? You might see Jimmy G in this game. Dion Lewis, we talked about him earlier. I don't think, against San Francisco, that New England is going to play Dion Lewis much more than an experimental thing early in the game. I don't see him risking a severe injury against this team. They should own San Francisco. They outclass San Francisco in every facet of the game. Special teams, punting, whatever. I guess Brady's not more mobile than Kaepernick. That's about the only thing they got. Brady's hometown reunion. How do you start anybody in San Francisco? Carlos Hyde came back last week. He was ineffective, but so was Dwan Harris. I'm starting Carlos Hyde because I have to. We flex people. He's got too much upside. We run a quarter point per carry in one of our leagues. I think Carlos Hyde gets the ball a lot. LeGarrette Blount's going to get the ball more because New England's going to go up in this game so big that they're just going to hand the rock to him all game. New England 41, San Francisco 17.
Last week, San Francisco ran the ball a total of 28 times. Now, we're seeing a lot of teams in this league have one player at the running back position at least touch the ball that amount of times. Last week, Colin Kaepernick was the leading rusher for San Francisco. One thing that tells me is they're playing very safe football. 17 for 30 last week. The reason why I'm talking up these 49ers is they did in fact play the Arizona Cardinals. They played a tough defensive team. I'm pretty excited to see this game this week. I think I have it a lot closer than a lot of other people. I think Seattle is emerging. They're getting hot. Russell's getting healthy. Yes, and anyways, I see New England not on the decline, but they faced Seattle and they were hot. Now they got to go against the 49ers, who again last week were controlling the clock, something that Bill Belichick likes to do a lot. Tom Brady, obviously, we know he's a very good quarterback, but without Gronk, I see them having a lot more woes than people expect. He's a huge part of their block game. I do have this game 28, New England, San Francisco 20. I think Dion Lewis touches the ball 15 times at least this week. His teammates are pretty excited about him. I do like LeGarrette Blount slightly more than him. this week, I guess you could say, I still like Dion Lewis in PPR because he could only have 10 total touches, but they could be all catches. I drastically like LeGarrette Blount over Dion Lewis this week in Standard. Again, yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. It's going to be a chess match.
Yeah, and if it's a chess match involving the hoodie, you got to pick the hoodie. All right, we got Eagles-Seahawks. Now, this is back-to-back bird games for the Eagles. They played the Falcons last week. Did they shut them down? No, but they shut them down as much as he shut down the Falcons. The Eagles are 1-4 on the road. It's not all on Wentz. He started out kind of hot, and he's kind of turned into a mediocre quarterback. But he's fourth in drop rates for his receivers. There's 2 Niners quarterbacks, and then this guy named Matthew Stafford in front of him. He's got a shit receiving core. We'll put it bluntly. Carson Wentz does. But, you know, the Seahawks, they're hot. Russell's back. They cut Christine Michael because Rawls is back, and Procise has shown that he can be the man. The Seahawks are 6-2 with a tie. Russell's playing great again. I can't pick against him. I know the Eagles D, they're solid. I like Sproles as a PPR back. I think they're going to dump off to him. I don't see Matthews, although he's like the ultimate vulture week in and week out. I don't see him getting a lot of touches. Doesn't mean he doesn't get some red zone touches. Still, the Seahawks D, it's going to be too much for a rookie. Again, on a team that struggles on the road, I got Seahawks 24, Eagles 13. It's going to be the strength of their defense. Is Rawls going to be a factor? I don't know. Procise has shown he can do it. With Russell playing, Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, both good starts. The Eagles, it's not enough there.
Yeah, I definitely favor Seattle this week. I just want to, again, we touched on this, I believe it was a couple weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Philadelphia went to Dallas, and I said I wanted to see how they would travel as a defense and go there and play. This is an even bigger battle for me. Why? I think I like Seattle right now more than Dallas. Seattle's getting hot, and they don't have Michael Bennett back on the defensive side. And Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas are hitting some people. They are making people feel
Cam coming back was huge, and Earl Thomas, didn't he lay out Gronk?
Yeah.
Said it was the hardest hit he's ever taken.
Twice.
I mean...
And it's, to me, I feel the same way about Ryan Matthews. I don't get completely what's going on here. 19 rushes, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns last week. Maybe he's your favorite standard play over Darren Sproles. Still not mine. Sproles, 8 receptions, 57 yards, 2 rushes, 19 yards. I get it. Don't panic. I still like Sproles. Ride it out. Doug Baldwin. Yeah, this guy, he's emerging as he was 2 years ago when he was the greatest pickup ever out of free
late
agency.
Season.
I mean, we're looking at his numbers here, and he had himself 6 receptions, 59 yards, and 3 TDs. I mean, this guy, he's amazing. CJ Procise, I like him more than Rawls this week. Not by a lot. I like him in PPR a lot more. I think they're going to do the same thing with Rawls as they did with Doug Martin in Tampa. Yep. You get into the goal line, you're going to work him, let him feel that end zone again. Just let him get football back under his feet. I have this score: Seattle 30, Philadelphia 17. But don't be surprised if the Philadelphia Eagles defense shows up and makes this a very tough game.
Low-scoring, tough game. That wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, defenses tend to travel. Now, you're talking about not knowing what was going on in regards to that Sproles-Matthews situation. Not knowing what's going on, we got Green Bay Packers, Washington Redskins. Mike McCarthy, do you know what's going on? He had to come out, and I quote him, "Let's state the facts. I'm a highly successful NFL coach. With that, I've never looked at the ride to this point as smooth."
End quote.
End quote. Now, Mike McCarthy, if they lose, I think this game is going to be the turning point on whether they fire him or not. They got beat by Indianapolis. They got blown out by Tennessee. Now you're going on the road against a Redskins team that's trending in the opposite direction as this Packers team. You know, the best I've seen this Packers offense play in a year and a half was against the Bears. I know it was against the Bears, but what did they do? They lined up Ty Montgomery in the backfield and threw the hell out of the ball. Why? Because that's what's been working for him. Mike McCarthy, I'm sorry, he needs to go. The guy might be a great guy. He might have the locker room. He can't make adjustments. He struggles with leading an offense. I don't know if it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's Mike McCarthy. There's something wrong in Green Bay. That being said, Kirk Cousins, he's been more efficient than A-Rod since halfway through last year. Look at the numbers. Robert Kelly, he's emerging. They're the team with all the mojo. I'm taking them. I got Redskins 38, Packers 24. Jordan Reed, Packers aren't stopping them. Kirk Cousins, multiple touchdowns. He might throw a pick. He's prone to do that. He's getting multiple touchdowns. Now, you know, you got A-Rod, you got Jordy. They're getting theirs. Other than there, who are you starting? Is it going to be Cobb? Is it going to be Devontae? Ty Montgomery, Starks? Devontae's kind of emerged as the number 2 over Cobb even to this point. Is that going to change? You don't know.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying, but I just want to stop and grab you by the pigskin here for a second.
You're going to trump me.
I have this game slightly different. I think experience reigns over youth. I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't turn around his week. I think somehow the defense finds a way to do what they did last year in the playoffs and then make second half adjustments. They're going to come out. They're going to beat Captain Kirk. It's going to be a very close game. I do like Rob Kelly, but I still have faith in that Packers front line. I can't agree more that Mike McCarthy has his job on the chopping block, but I personally feel he has already lost his job. Davante Adams is clearly the number 2 wide receiver here. 6 receptions, 156 yards. Jordy Nelson, 12 receptions, 126 yards. I'm skeptical on Jordy this week. He's going to have a tough defensive assignment.
Yes, Josh Norman's a beast.
I mean, but I really like Davante Adams, someone that we haven't mentioned here. I'm infatuated highly with Jameis Crowder. Jamison Crowder, he finds the end zone. He's a great PPR wide receiver. I wouldn't mind playing him in standard either. What did he do last week here? I mean, he just had himself a cool 4 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown. Are you going to hate that? No. It's beyond double digits. You like to see it. I love the fact that Rob Kelly, 22 rushes, 97 yards. We touched on that a little bit ago. I stated a couple weeks back CJ Prosise would be the clear-cut number 1 running back come week 14. That was dated that far for Rawls to come back. I wanted to see what he could do. I mentioned Rob Kelly, Devontae Booker. Who's going to be our next big diamond in the rough, Daryl? I mean, do you see James Starks possibly being that guy?
No. Now they got Christine Michael. I mean, James Starks, he's not beating out Christine Michael, in my opinion.
For how long?
2 weeks, honestly.
2 weeks minimum.
You know, and that's why I was saying
cut Niles Davis.
But Christine Michael's on another level than Niles Davis, I think.
Do you really think Christine Michael, though, can learn the playbook any faster than Niles Davis? You have to allow the player to learn.
I agree with that. They never gave Niles a chance. You know, and that's why I said that I think this was the game that was a turning point for McCarthy, because I think he's still got a chance to save his job. They're 4-5, but they're only a game out.
It's a very tight race.
So if they lose here and then either Minnesota or Detroit wins, which I'm expecting at least Detroit to win, Minnesota's got an outside chance. They do. Packers drop this here. They're in big trouble.
In my opinion,
they're in big trouble. And in all honesty, Minnesota's given them every opportunity to stay in the hunt. I mean, their season should have been done 2 weeks ago.
I agree.
The way they've been playing.
I do have this game, though. Green Bay 28, Washington 24.
Ooh, I think it's going to be a good game to watch.
Definitely primetime Sunday night.
Really is. It's going to be one of the best games of the week. Now we go to Mexico. We got the high altitude of Mexico. Is that going to be a factor? I don't know. We got Brock Osweiler, Houston versus Oakland. Houston's another one of those overlooked teams. They're 6-3. but they've given up 27 more points than they've scored. How do you go 6-3 and be outscored by 27 points total? I don't think Mexico is going to matter for Houston because I'm pretty sure Brock Osweiler's, he's a bad quarterback in any country. The guy's 29th in QBR, but this team's kind of figured out that the best way to move the ball is with Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, workhorse it. Why? Because Osweiler's not the answer. But Oakland, what can you say about them? They've come out, they shocked me. Their defense is kind of starting to get it together. You got Derek Carr. I can't pick against Oakland here. I think Lamar Miller gets his. I'm staying away from Osweiler. And, if you drafted DeAndre, I'm sorry. I'm staying away from DeAndre. I mean, you got to start him if you drafted him because odds are you don't have another receiver that you can put in that spot. I like Carr. I like Crabtree. I like Cooper. I even like Latavius Murray. There's no J.J. Watt on this Houston team. I have Oakland 34, Houston 28, just because Oakland's D is going to struggle to stop Houston's Lamar Miller.
What was your
score? 34-28 Oakland.
Oh, okay, absolutely. I'm with you on this side. I do have Oakland winning this game. I thoroughly enjoy Latavius Murray. The guy just scores touchdowns. I have Lamar Miller ranked 6th this week, and I actually have DeAndre Hopkins as my risky, high-ranked player at number 8 this week on my PPR list. I just wish he had a better quarterback than Brock Osweiler. I can't disagree with anything that you've said here. Honestly, I think it's going to be very sloppy on the Houston side of the ball. I mean, they can do what they want. You can workhorse Lamar Miller. You can try to force feed DeAndre Hopkins. In the end, the Oakland Raiders are going to come out victorious with Derek Carr, who is emerging as an MVP front-running candidate here. I do have this game, Oakland 28, Houston 17.
I agree with you. You can't pick against them. Oh, man. And then it comes to Belichick or bust. Speaking of grabbing it by the pigskin, that's exactly what my first pick's going to do. I was torn for my first pick with 2 defenses. I was thinking Detroit. They are playing Jacksonville, but it's my team. I'm going with the Dolphins D. I think against a rookie quarterback, even on the road, guess what? They're going to light it up. I got the Dolphins D ranked at number 4 this week. That's my first one. My second, this one's kind of a flyer. He came back last week with Darius Green. He had 3 catches for 30 yards in his first week coming back. He's playing a Browns team. I think they're going to take it easy. And with Ladarius, 3 for 30, I think that's going to double. You're going to see something around a 6 for 60 this week. They're going to ease him back in, and now he's to the point where I think he's ready to play.
Well, I feel pretty good because I hit both mine last week. Taylor Gabriel, 1 reception, 76 yards, and a TD. And
it's a hell of a catch.
CJ Prosise have over 150 yards. I'm going to go with running back again this week. I am going to go with Dion Lewis as my Belichick or bust.
I like it.
It's someone that could win or lose you the week, honestly. I mean, to me, he's a risky flex play, but that flex
Belichick
play
likes
the upside of... the moon. I really enjoy this gentleman. He is a great player. My other Belichick or bust will be Mr. Eli Rogers. Look for him to emerge this week even more. I definitely have him ranked in my top 30. I think he can do big things this week. He's not a guaranteed wide receiver 2 by any means, but a
great
fun
flex play.
Absolutely, very fun.
Huge upside. He's got that wide receiver 2 upside, I think.
Oh, and especially if you're in that 6, 7, 8 seed, maybe not so much 6, depending how close your win-loss is in your league. But this is the time to take chances. You don't want to take chances when there's 2 weeks left to make playoffs, and it's, oh, well, guess what? Anyone else in another matchup could win, and that could still push you out of the playoffs. You got to take your chances now. You got to go try and get your W's. If you have any questions, you need any advice on ad drops, I know a lot of leagues' trade deadline is already passed. Ours was actually edited preseason for the 26th. We are here for you. We will stay up to date on the injury reports as much as we can for you. Remember to keep on writing in them questions, emails. we're here for you.
I agree. If it's time to make a move, it's now. You don't want to be the guy that says, you know what, I can afford to lose 2 in a row. Because 2 in a row turns into 4 in a row, which turns into 5 in a row. We're here. We love the comments. We love interacting with our fans. Thank you once again for staying tuned to us. Gryffindor!